All right, so we'll go ahead and get started now. Everyone, welcome to our October Elder Abuse Task Force. Thank you so much for joining us. And next slide, please. So a little bit about API Legal Outreach. We were founded in 1975, and the mission of API Legal Outreach is to provide culturally competent and linguistically appropriate legal representation, social services, and advocacy for the most marginalized segments of the community, including low-income women, seniors, recent immigrants, and youth. Next slide. And a little bit about the Elder and Disability Rights Project, which is the project we are from. API Legal Outreach's Elder and Disability Rights Project offers comprehensive legal services to elders and individuals with disabilities, focusing on securing public benefits and preventing abuse. Our team works with community partners to ensure accessibility and provides legal services in areas including immigration, elder abuse, estate planning, housing, conservatorship, and protective orders, to name a few. We are committed to both preventing abuse and supporting survivors through our dedicated attorneys and staff. Next slide. Now about the Elder Abuse Task Force. The Elder and Disability Rights Project at API Legal Outreach convenes monthly forums uniting government officials, community members, and legal professionals to address challenges facing elderly and disabled individuals in the API community with a focus on combating elder abuse. Next slide. So we have a few housekeeping rules. Some of the ones to highlight here would be to please mute your microphone when not speaking to minimize background noise. And if you have a question or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat box throughout the presentation today. And also, if you're experiencing technical issues, feel free to email me. I provided my email at number 6 there, which is dmardemutu@apilegaloutreach.org. And finally, we will be reserving some time at the end of the presentation for a Q&A. Next slide. Now we're going to introduce our speaker today, who is Yvonne Troya. So a little bit about Yvonne. Yvonne is a clinical professor who has served as the founding legal director of the UC Law SF Medical Legal Partnership for Seniors Clinic, MLPS, since 2012. MLPS is a collaboration between UC Law SF College of the Law and the UCSF and San Francisco VA medical centers, whereby law students work closely with medical providers to provide holistic legal services for mostly homebound older adult patients, Yvonne previously served as a supervising attorney in the health practice of the East Bay Community Law Center, a clinic of UC Berkeley Law School. Yvonne worked in 2 medical legal partnerships serving low-income adults with HIV, AIDS, and families seen at Children's Hospital and Research Center, Oakland. Yvonne researches and writes about continuing care retirement communities and serves on the board of California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform. Yvonne holds a JD from UC Berkeley Law and her BA in Biology and Latin Studies from Bowdoin College. She speaks Spanish and French. We're so excited to have Yvonne here today. And right before we turn it over to her, we have a few introductory poll questions. Alrighty, so the first question here, what type of service do you provide? We have legal services, social services, case management services, housing services, or if other, please use the chat box to share. And our second question is, in your opinion, what is the biggest barrier that older adults face when trying to access long-term care? We have cost of service, lack of options, cultural or language barriers, lack of information about available options, or others. Please feel free to use the chat box to share. I'll give you a few more seconds. Okay, I think we're good to share the results. All right, so these are the results. We have some legal services, social services, and case management services. And it seems like 56% of you believe that the biggest barrier is lack of information about available options, followed by costs of service, and lastly, lack of options. All righty. Perfect. And now we will hand it over to Yvonne.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here today. So I'm going to get right to it because there's a lot to talk about in this area, and I'm glad that you highlighted the issue of the lack of information out there. It's understandable why, because it's so complicated. Honestly, this whole area is so complicated. Today, we're going to go through an overview of care options for older adults in California who may have increasing difficulty living independently at home. We're going to focus on people 65 and over. Our healthcare system is hyper fragmented, as you probably know. So the content of my slides will be a little bit technical as I'm trying to bring together the different programs and eligibility for that. I've tried to simplify my explanations because it's complicated. My hope is that the slides will be helpful resources for you even later to review as things come up. So we're going to talk about in-home care first, then we'll move through the higher levels of care. So I am curious to know how familiar you are with Medi-Cal and IHSS. Do you mind just throwing some comments in the chat so I can get an idea of how familiar you are? All right. Well, I'm not getting any yet, so let's just assume you want information about this. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you. The major way for us to be able to get clients in-home care, for people to benefit from in-home care to stay independently in their homes, is through IHSS, in-home supportive services, through Medi-Cal, through community-based Medi-Cal. People need to be eligible for Medi-Cal to be able to get this in-home care. And through IHSS, a person can have a caregiver provide home care services for them for up to 195 to 283 hours per month. It depends on the particular subset of the program that they're in. So it's not 24/7, but people can hire caregivers of their choice. So it could even be a family member, could be a friend. So if it's a family member, it could bring that caregiver is getting paid, and that can bring some more income into the home, or it can be provided by an agency. And the number of hours granted depends on the county's assessment of the person's functional need. We've seen people who get assessed who don't get assessed for enough hours for their needs. I've also seen other people who seem to have a lot of hours compared to others. So know that people can appeal to request additional hours if they're unhappy with the number of hours that they have. And it's actually quite easy to appeal. So this is an excellent option if people can qualify for free Medi-Cal. And that's the hard part. We're going to talk about that next here. How do you qualify for the free Medi-Cal to be able to get the free in-home care? So you always want to be looking at income and assets for every public benefit. Okay, always consider what's the money coming in each month. That's the income. And what's the stuff that people have? What's the money that they have And those are the assets. So we're looking at the income and the asset limits separately. Okay. So for accessing free Medi-Cal for someone who's 65 or over or who is disabled, this is a program that that would give them free Medi-Cal. Their income, their net income, or I'll call it countable income, needs to be under this threshold. So they're quite low income. It's about $1,800, 1,801, and a little more for a couple. There are certain things that are exempt from the countable income. There's something called a $20 disregard. The other main deduction is healthcare insurance premiums. So any kind of health insurance that people have, they're paying premiums for. So it's not the actual like other medical costs, it's the premiums that people are paying. Could include the Medicare premiums, dental, vision, other health insurance, maybe health insurance they got through their pension that's linked to their pension. Dollar for dollar, that is a deduction to their gross income to get you to see if people can qualify under this countable income limit. So a major tip is that if someone's income is just a little too high, they can purchase additional health insurance to get their income below the countable income limit. So then they can get the free in-home care. So even if they're not going to use that extra dental or vision or health insurance, as long as they are able to bring their income below the countable income limit, they can now qualify for free Medi-Cal and the free in-home care. So that's the income limit. The asset limit, currently there is no asset limit since January 2024, but that's going away in January 2026. So soon the old asset limit's coming back, and that's $130,000 for a single person and $195 for a couple. There are assets that are exempt from that, and that's a home that you live in as a primary residence, a car, and retirement accounts don't count for that either, as long as a person is getting a distribution of any amount, a regular distribution, that will exempt a retirement account, even if it's high value. Okay, and there are other exempt assets as well. Now, I'm going to highlight here something that a lot of folks are not aware of, that it is possible for married couples, for if there's one person, and sometimes even both, who require nursing home level of caregiving to remain in the home and receive IHSS using eligibility rules that are a little more lenient than the ones that I just mentioned, okay? So we call that home and community-based services using spousal impoverishment rules. So it's part of a Medicaid waiver that permits these called spousal impoverishment rules to apply that are more lenient towards the married couples to try to prevent the impoverishment of the non-sick spouse, or the well spouse, we call it. So I found that a lot of folks are not aware of this. So the rules here for eligibility are going to track with the rules we're going to talk about in a few minutes regarding Medi-Cal for long-term care. Okay, so I'm going to put a bug in your ear about this now. We're going to come back and circle back as to how this more lenient rule could potentially apply to keep people in their homes. Okay, if they're married. All right. So the bottom line with regard to accessing free Medi-Cal, my kind of simplified version. So to get below the income limit, it might be worth it to buy more health insurance to get the countable income below the free Medi-Cal income limit. As I just mentioned, there may be more options if someone is married and one or more spouses has very high care needs. And the asset limit is returning as of January 2026, which will result in higher asset people losing Medi-Cal. Eventually, though, they won't lose it on January 1st. They'll lose it during their Medi-Cal redetermination their annual Medi-Cal redetermination, which could happen later in the year. It just depends on when they actually got on it originally and what their cycle of annual redetermination is. So it could actually be several months before people are actually kicked off of Medi-Cal if they have higher assets above the asset limit. Okay. I'm going to highlight here Medi-Cal that's not free, because you may have encountered people who have Medi-Cal, but they have a high share of cost. Now it's called a shared monthly cost. They're the same thing. And there are people who may say, well, I think I'm on Medi-Cal, but I'm not using it. And it could be because they have this kind of Medi-Cal. It is for people who have income that's too high to meet that strict cutoff limit for the free Medi-Cal. And it functions more like catastrophic high monthly deductible health insurance. So it has a very expensive monthly deductible. The way you calculate that is basically taking someone's income and subtracting $600 from that. $600 is what they get to keep to live off of, and the rest of it is their monthly deductible to access Medi-Cal and IHSS. It hasn't changed since 1989, so it's not that useful because most people can't live off of $600 a month. There are a few kind of complicated exceptions that can help people to quote unquote meet their share of costs, which means that they could avoid actually paying the deductible. So look at canner.org and disabilityrightscalifornia.org for more information about that. And in the Q&A, like later, if we have time, I can talk about that, but I don't want us to get stuck in the weeds. It's very easy to get stuck in the weeds with all this. So this particular kind of Medi-Cal is called medically needy Medi-Cal, share of cost Medi-Cal. So it's not that useful unless a person can somehow meet the share of cost. So this next option for in-home care is new or newish, and it's pretty new to me. And it comes through a person's potentially Medi-Cal Managed Care Plan. Okay, so Medi-Cal Managed Care Plans were rolled out to all counties by about 2024. So people, older adults who are on Medi-Cal were automatically placed into specific managed care plans, like basically HMO type plans, through a specific managed care plan provider, or MCP. So the purpose of this whole statewide project has been to better coordinate services for the older adult population and provide holistic care. So access to services that can improve people's health, but may not be directly health related. So the managed care plans are supposed to offer a range of what we call community supports. And there are 14 different community supports that that they can offer if they so choose. So I hope you're tracking with me. I know it's a lot. Every county has one or more Medi-Cal managed care plans. San Francisco has 3 of them. So whether or not your older adult person's managed care plan offers this particular benefit will depend on the managed care plan that they're part of, that their Medi-Cal is a part of. So I've included a link here on canner.org. Here it's a hyperlink that will get you to a chart that that shows you the different counties and lists the Medi-Cal managed care plans in each county, And then it also has information about what community supports are offered by each Medi-Cal Managed Care Plan. So this personal care and homemaker services is one of those 14 community supports that may be offered by a Medi-Cal Managed Care Plan. So it's similar to IHSS, and it's also for people who are not eligible for IHSS, to help people avoid short stay in a nursing home. So it can supplement existing services provided through IHSS as well, if someone is on IHSS, if their application's pending for IHSS, or they need care above and beyond the approved IHSS hours. So I don't know anyone who's on it. We've just started trying to get clients on this. So we're in the process right now. I can't report back to how well it's working just yet. But it's important for you all to know about this, that now through these Medi-Cal Managed Care Plans, there are potentially more resources available, and this is only one of them. Okay. So I'm excited about this option. For in-home care, people can pay privately for care, and that could be $35 to $45 an hour. So I'm highlighting here some cheaper options that could be available. Self-Help for the Elderly runs the Support at Home program. It used to be based at the Institute on Aging, and it's a voucher program for people who don't qualify for the free Medi-Cal and IHSS that we talked about earlier. And they are SF residents. So this is an SF program. So there is an annual income limit, but it's pretty high. And it's 109,000 for 2025. And there is an asset limit too. Okay, that they cannot exceed 40,000. So I reached out to the program. There's a long waiting list right now, 150, very long, but I still want you to know about it. It might be worth getting an elder on that waiting list. And then another one I heard about through a client called careyaya.org that connects pre-health college students in the Bay Area and in other metropolitan areas with non-medical in-home support. So light chores, meal prep. They're not trained to provide caregiving, but it can help a lot. So it's a lot cheaper, $15 to $20 an hour. So it's not an official endorsement. I haven't worked with them myself, but I just want you to know about it. So it's possible that people can find cheaper caregiving options. Moving on to veterans. There are a couple options for in-home care available to some veterans. So this first one is the VA Homemaker and Home Health Aid Care Program. So applications are reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and not all veterans apply. In order to qualify, in order to qualify, a veteran would need to be receiving their medical care at the VA or eligible for that and be approved to receive the VA standard medical benefits. So it's worth applying though, if a veteran is receiving care at the VA. And veterans must demonstrate a need for the care, could even include case management care. And it maxes out at 16 hours per week. So it doesn't quite replace like IHSS, but it could be something done in conjunction with IHSS if a veteran is also receiving Medi-Cal. The person providing the care, though, is not a person of choice of the elder. It is provided by an outside agency that contracts with the VA. Okay, so it's different from IHSS in that way. The second program that can provide home care for veterans is the VA program of comprehensive assistance to family caregivers. And this one's more like IHSS. Family caregivers can get paid to provide personal care services for the veteran. the veteran does need to have a disability rating of a certain level, 70% or higher. So that's through the VA system. And that would be a disability rating based on this on their disability resulting from their service. Okay. So the caregiver and veteran submit a joint application. So this is another option potentially for veterans out there to supplement other options. All right. Tracking with me? We good? Okay. Okay. PACE, I hope you all know about PACE. It's incredibly amazing. It's not really in-home care, but it keeps people in their homes. So people get to remain sleeping in their beds, living at their homes, avoiding an institution, okay, avoiding institutionalization. But they may spend multiple days during the week at a PACE center. PACE is the best ever. If people otherwise need nursing home level of care, they could potentially join a PACE program and receive all of their medical care and social care at the PACE Day Center. So it includes all their primary care. It includes the dental and vision, includes social workers, physical therapists, occupational therapists, like everybody, pharmacy. Yeah. And sometimes I know there's one in San Francisco that even has a pool where people can do their like rehab in the pool. The meals are customized for each particular person's dietary needs. And I just love visiting. I used to go with my students before the pandemic, and it was like, we'd study long-term care, like, look at how broken the system is. It just sucks, like so bad. But there's PACE. We love PACE so much. So it's yeah, wonderful. People are really, really mission driven. So it prevents like polypharmacy that can happen with people being given drugs by all the different specialists they're seeing in this fragmented system because it's combining everything under one roof and in different languages too. People must be 55, at least 55 to qualify and require nursing home level of care. They accept Medi-Cal, Medicare, and you can also private pay. And when I was talking to someone in the last few months from PACE, I don't think there was a waiting list. I think that can change, but that, yeah. And they pick people up. I mean, I'm sure seen the vans like driving around your city. They pick people up and drop them off. All right. So, okay, so we just talked about like keeping people in their homes, like in-home care. People want to stay in their homes. So those are like the options that everybody wants. But now let's talk about what if people can't really stay in their homes? What if they need some kind of supervision? They need some extra help, and it's just not safe for them to be in their homes. That's when we start talking about assisted living. Assisted living in California is licensed as a residential care facility for the elderly. Okay, so you'll see that thrown around. RCFE is referring to assisted living. Another form of assisted living is a board and care, which is also assisted living, but it's usually smaller, about 4 to 6 beds. And yeah, the important thing to know here is that they're non-medical facilities. So they don't provide this like a high level of care at all. They don't usually have nurses or certified nursing assistants or doctors on staff. People get some personal care assistance, like assistance with medications. Here, take your medications, but people self-administer their own medications, and it provides room and board for them. People tend to like assisted living because it's not institutional feeling. Depending, it's can be quite homey, and they could be quite luxurious too. If people pay a lot for them. So how do you actually, yeah. Oh, well, I guess I'll add the bottom line here. So they're for people who don't need 24-hour nursing care. And residents may need to move out eventually if they need higher levels of care. So they really just will support someone during their need for that level. Sometimes assisted living will allow people to bring in their own caregivers, maybe even IHSS caregivers, or just pay a la carte for the caregivers provided by the agency, by that assisted living. But unless the assisted living has a waiver, special waiver, a hospice waiver from California, from the state, then a resident may need to move out if they they develop medical needs that require them to have a higher level of care. So how do you pay for that? Well, it's mostly private pay. That's why there's a little frowny face here. There's no Medicare coverage for it, and Medi-Cal doesn't usually cover it, but we'll talk about a couple options here that are exceptions. So there is the Medi-Cal assisted living waiver. This is for people who have free Medi-Cal. So they qualify for full scope free Medi-Cal using those rules that we talked about earlier in this presentation. So they're those people who meet that eligibility. So all those other rules apply. So someone could become eligible by, again, purchasing additional health insurance. So they need to be eligible for that and require a nursing facility level of care. And they do contribute to their room and board costs, okay, up to $14.40 a month. The downside is that there's a really long wait list, so 1 or 2 years, but it could be a great option for people if they can wait. So I recommend that if you have elders who might need assisted living in the future, that they get on the wait list now, that they connect with the local care coordination agency in your area to apply for the assisted living waiver. And there'll be an assessment to determine if they require nursing home level of care. Okay. Second exception is through the Medi-Cal Managed Care Plans that we talked about earlier as well. So this is another one of the community supports, of those 14 community supports that could be available through the Medi-Cal Managed Care Plan, depending on the specific plan that the elder is on. So again, find out what Medi-Cal Managed Care Plan that person's on. That will involve looking at paperwork and trying to figure that out. Once you know which plan it is on, you can look at that plan's website to figure out what they're offering. And then Canner also has a wonderful guide too. So this nursing facility transition, diversion, it will potentially pay for people to be in an assisted living facility. Yeah, it could be a great thing. So it might be possible, but it will likely involve a lot of red tape. So if someone's able to navigate that, great. Otherwise, it's going to be private pay. Okay. All right. So that was assisted living. Okay. We're about to move to nursing homes. So this is the highest level of care for people who need actual like medical care. Okay. How do people pay for this? Well, there is a lot of misunderstanding out there about who pays for this. Polls that have been done, research that has been done shows that most people think that Medicare will pay for this, but it doesn't. It will only pay for short-term care in a skilled nursing facility called SNFs, skilled nursing facility. Medicare will typically cover up to 20 days, and then it will typically stop. Now, officially, Medicare can cover up to 100 days in a nursing facility, but in practice, it's typically 20 days. Those 20 days are fully covered by Medicare, and after that, there's a portion that needs to be paid by the person in the nursing home. And it also requires a hospital stay preceding the nursing home. And that stay needs to last about 3 days and include 2 midnights in a hospital as an admitted patient. So there are these requirements, these hoops that people need to jump through in order for Medicare to pay for that first roughly 20 days. Medi-Cal is actually what comes in and fills the gap and covers long-term care, but it's a lot easier to qualify for this kind of Medi-Cal than it is for the community-based Medi-Cal we talked about earlier in the presentation that came with the with IHSS. Okay, so that's what we call community-based Medi-Cal. This Medi-Cal that pays for custodial care is referred to as long-term care Medi-Cal or Medi-Cal for nursing home care. And actually, more people qualify for this. A lot more people, middle income people can qualify for this. Income can be as high as $10,000 or even $12,000 a month, and a person can qualify for this. Yeah, so the catch is that almost all of that income is used to pay, pretty much all of it, apart from $35, will be used to pay the nursing home. So there won't be money left over to pay the mortgage or the rent. So people have to pretty much give up their other homes unless someone else can cover that for them. So people with higher incomes then can qualify for this paid for by Medi-Cal. And there are, again, those special rules that apply to married couples. Remember, they're called spousal impoverishment rules. And again, meant to prevent the impoverishment of the spouse that's not going into the nursing home. Okay. So the spouse's income actually, the well spouse, the one that's not going into the nursing home, it doesn't count at all. So even if it's very high income, it's not taken into account. It's only the person's income who's going into the nursing home. And that's different than for the community-based Medi-Cal and IHSS, where both people's income is taken into account. I mean, there's another wrinkle. Again, I don't want to make your head hurt, but it's just so complicated. But the the spouse living at home, can also like keep some of that income from the ill person going to the nursing home. Like some of the ill person's income can be diverted to support the spouse living at home. So that's cool to help support that person if as long as their income is below this amount, which is roughly $4,000 or 3,948 uh, for this coming year. So that means that the person who's going into the nursing home could potentially get some reprieve from all of their income, but $35 flowing to pay for the nursing home. Instead, some of that can be diverted to help the spouse that's living at home. Okay. So we talked about the income limit. Okay, the income limit is actually like not the same at all as community-based. It could be actually pretty high income for the person going to the nursing home. We look at assets as well. So currently no asset limit, as you know, but as of January 1st, there will be this asset limit. So again, $130,000 for a single person. The spouse is allowed to have another $157,000, $158,000. Okay. So this is a little more generous than the asset limit for the community-based Medi-Cal. Okay, which would top off for a couple at $195,000 because you have the $135,000 for the person on Medi-Cal and the spouse is allowed 65,000. Here for this kind of Medi-Cal long-term care, actually, the total is about $280,000 $288,000 if you're adding the $130,000 permitted by by one spouse, the ill spouse, and then the other spouse is allowed to have 157, nearly 158,000. So, so it's a little bit more generous in that way. And the same exemptions apply, like your house is exempt if it's your primary residence that you want to go back to, even if it's just theoretical when you leave a nursing home, your car and the retirement accounts, as long as there's a distribution being taken, and a few other ones. So we just talked about the income limit and the asset limit for nursing home care paid for by Medi-Cal. Okay. You may have heard of Medi-Cal recovery. A lot of clients come to us and say, I don't want to be on Medi-Cal because I'm worried about this thing I've heard about the state coming and taking my home from me after I pass away. So it's true that there is a program like that called Medi-Cal Recovery to claim assets after death for someone who received institutional care that Medi-Cal paid for when they were at least 55 years old. But thanks to the amazing work of advocates, of legal advocates here in California, as of 2017, we have a way out of that. So if a spouse remains in the home, Medi-Cal recovery is not going to happen, and minor children too. Separately, if the assets are put into a trust, so if the home is put into a trust, it also will not trigger Medi-Cal recovery. Or if the assets are in any way made to be to avoid probate. I wrote it here as non-probatable. So if they are otherwise rendered to be avoiding the court process, probate process that can happen after someone passes away, then they're untouchable by the state. Okay, we can talk about that more in the Q&A if you want to. Cantor has a wonderful guide on avoiding Medi-Cal recovery. So I would say look at their website. So the bottom line is higher income people can qualify for Medi-Cal to pay for their nursing home care. They can be pretty high income, but almost all of their income, except for $35, will pay for that nursing home care. And then Medi-Cal will come in and pay the rest of the month. There is an exception, though. If someone's married, some of their income can be diverted away from the nursing home and to the spouse that's staying at home. All right. To support that spouse and again, try to prevent the impoverishment of that spouse. And remember again that the income of the spouse staying at home won't count. Okay. So there, so that means that there are more favorable income and asset rules if the person needing nursing home care is married, and whenever I say married, I also mean could have a domestic partner, okay? Registered domestic partner. So on a side note, nursing homes don't want to accept Medi-Cal because the daily pay rate is so low compared to Medicare. Nursing homes want Medicare patients. They don't want people on Medi-Cal. So it's very, very common for people in nursing homes as they're approaching their 20th day for them to get the notice from Medicare, your coverage is ending. And the nursing home says, oh, that's so terrible that your Medicare is ending. I guess you have to go now. Better leave now. Or you have to private pay, which could be $15,000, $20,000 a month, depending. So a lot of people feel like they have to leave, but they can actually apply for Medi-Cal at that point. And they have the right to stay there as their Medi-Cal application is being processed, and shouldn't be like giving giving stuff away, changing around their assets or anything to try to qualify, you need to talk to a lawyer before you do anything like that. You don't want to mess anything up. But also don't have to just like skedaddle from the nursing home. Okay. All right. So there's really good advocacy materials on just the Justice and Aging website and also Canner. And here's some additional resources for you all. Great resources, great organizations out there that have helpful info for you. I kind of skated across the surface here. There's so much more to talk about, but we'd be here for a really long time.